be confident in your decisions and your choices. Know that this is a marathon. It is tough, but you've made it this far. Not many people can make it this far, especially coming from a Caribbean med school. It's really tough to do that.
Welcome back, everybody. It's another video. Today I have on is my classmate. It's going to be Jack, and he's going to tell us about his matching experience to, is it anesthesiology. Pretty competitive specialty, so I think I'm glad that I was able to get him on here and have him talk to us about it. So you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Where to start? So I'm from California. I was born and raised in Palm Springs. It sounds bougie, but it's not. Being from there, it's a much smaller town. It's like a desert. They call us desert rats, is what they call the people who are from there. But I grew up there. You can actually do rotations with SGU, or at least you used to at Desert Regional, where I was born. But I decided I didn't want to do that. Went to undergrad in Los Angeles, where the majority of the rest of my family is from that area. Went to USC. Had a great undergrad experience. I knew I had wanted to go to medical school at that point in time, as most people. You have that initial drive. You go to a good solid undergrad school, and you try and set up everything, do your research, your extracurriculars, you take your MCATs, etc. And for a solid amount of students, the feedback from the application cycle for medical school is not always the most positive experience. It's an incredibly stressful experience for most people, and that's kind of a stopping point for many aspiring healthcare professionals. But these Caribbean schools, they offer an opportunity for students like myself and others, students who could very well get into a USMD program, but they also don't want to spend like another year and another fortune applying for another cycle or two. So they kind of bite the bullet. So that was kind of my situation. I graduated in 2016 from USC. I took essentially 2 years off, took the MCAT twice. I was probably in a great position to apply 2 cycles for an MD school in the US, but I didn't have any mentors where I was living. I was kind of isolated. I had moved back to the desert to do some research, clinical research. I had a medical group kind of where I grew up. And being there, I didn't have any, like I said, mentors or people to kind of guide me in how to go about the process of applying to medical schools, when to do it really. Super, just bad on my part, kind of misinformed myself. So when I didn't get that much traction for the first cycle, I think I only had 2 or 3 interviews and waitlisted at one place, and UC Riverside, which is kind of where I wanted to go. I decided that I would apply to SGU, and they, obviously, as is the experience for many people who would be watching this, people from SGU, it's pretty non-competitive to get in. They're pretty welcoming, welcome you with open arms. I had a nice little interview experience with someone who was actually at UCR, who was a resident at that point in time, a chief resident from SGU, who interviewed me. He said, yeah, if you're super serious about this, if you're super committed to it. And at that point I had a chip on my shoulder. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So I went, and the first, 2 years on the island, as is the experience for everybody, were, exciting time. Met a lot of truly fantastic, amazing people, because that's, those are the other people who are in the same position as us with that chip on their shoulder. And my entire kind of mentality for those first 2 years was to really just hunker down and focus and grind and grind and grind. I think I did pretty well with that. I was kind of used to that from undergrad already. A lot of people, it's very difficult, that transition on the island. It's also isolated there, trying to find a way to survive, etc. It's a difficult place to live. It's a developing country in many ways. But, you have to find the balance. And then, COVID hit, and then that was a huge shift in every possible facet of, the medical field, how it operates in the hospitals, how we apply, how we transition from the island into clinical rotations, taking steps, 1, 2, CS being canceled, OET, all these pathways that now have to switch in these last 2 years, and kind of everything being virtual and interviews being virtual, and how that changed how the match works. So I think getting evacuated from the island, studying for step 1 was a very kind of like stressful time, but you just you persevere, you do your clinical rotations, and then, I'm sure you have other questions, but that's kind of the background of myself and then how I got to where we are now.
Sounds good, man. So you were the August 2018 class then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was the August 2018 class.
Yeah, I was the January 2018. So we got off before like the whole COVID shebang kind of happened.
Right.
So you guys had to go through that.
Yeah, it was. That was an interesting, like, kind of right in the middle of term 5.
Yeah. Which is like the most stressful
studying
term
for like the test. Yeah. Yeah. So we had to like switch from, being on the island. At that point in time, I was splitting time between like living with my girlfriend and myself, balancing our own studies. And then we got evacuated. And she's from New York, and our evacuation flights weren't going to California at the time, and travel was kind of like banned and closed down. Yeah. So we ended up just kind of staying with her parents for the majority of like 2020 up till the summertime, when it kind of started to lift a little bit, that first lifting wave. And it was really weird and difficult to kind of adjust to having to be in class and be on the island and seeing everyone every day, to being at home and also trying to learn and gather all of this review material of the first 2 years of medical school and gear to pass term 5 to then be allowed to study for step 1. So it was super stressful.
Yeah, but
super crazy time.
And I know for people from your term, especially, like because of COVID and stuff that happens. And you told me you started rotations late too, right? Like, did you
so when we
did you have a problem with that? Like just trying to finish everything in time for the match, and like just trying to graduate on time? Because I know there's people, especially from your term, right, where they kind of like, oh man, I'm not gonna like finish my core and stuff in time. Like they were struggling to schedule electives and stuff too. Like I think a lot of people have to like postpone for next cycle, right?
Yeah, a lot of people did. I know a lot of people who were like, neck and neck with me, like same class, same level, who just depending on like where they had to go to after they left, whether or not they had to go and go home to their home country to renew their visas, or how comfortable they felt in all that stressful time to study for step 1 and postpone step 1, so that ended up shifting their rotations back.
Right.
So for myself, like I started in October in New York. I took step 1 on like September 23rd. Tried to take it earlier. I had a lot of friends who had taken it in August and who are now finished, enjoying their vacations. But by the time I started cores, I was not sure that I was going to finish in time. I had laid out kind of just the number of weeks to, the match opening in June the next year, 2022 or 2021. So yeah, I was super stressed, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do at that time. I had two, ideas. The anesthesia was there, internal med was there. I was kind of waiting to, determine what I wanted to fully pursue until I got my step score, my step 1 score, because I didn't know, where I was going to fall, which I will say is 2424X, as like, they like to say on like Reddit forums.
Yeah.
To not give too much away, not that it mattered. now it's pass fail anyway. So by the time like I wanted to do an anesthesia elective, I didn't want to do family med. My family med was scheduled for May. I wanted to switch that out. SG was super like super hostile and non like just unflexible in their just trying to keep us all as rigid, like you have to do this, you have to do this. I mean, I think it's even worse now. I don't think you're allowed to even switch your rotations around in third year anymore, but they wouldn't let me move my family med in May and June for an anesthesia elective. Told them I didn't want to do it, but I still ended up having to do it. I had other friends who were also applying anesthesia who, for whatever reason, they shifted their family med rotations around. It was just super inconsistent across the board from SGU, which is just kind of like the norm for them.
Typical.
Which is something I would tell students to consider that. Because when you work with these other USMDs, you can see like their student schedule for their third and fourth year is very structured. It's really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to do my surgical 12-week final core rotation from July 1st up to, I think it finished the 29th of September, which is when the applications were being opened by these programs for the match.
Right.
So I had to take step 2. Like I took step 2 in the middle of my surgery core, like on a weekday during my 2 weeks of night shift.
Sheesh. So
I had to like take step 2 for the day and then go from there back to the hospital to do the night shift.
Yeah.
And that's how it ended up working out, like with the scheduling and the time constraint you had to take it by this time, especially if you want to be competitive and you don't want to have, for like a competitive specialty, you want to have both scores ideally. You can withhold your step 2 score if you want to take it during like interviewing season. You just have to bank on your step 1 score to kind of carry the load of getting you interviews.
Right.
You do have to take it though by February 1st, or I think the end of the rank cycle or whatever it is. So it was super stressful.
Match. Yeah. I mean, I bet like
super
just
stressful.
Cramming everything in and dude, taking step 2 on like a surgery rotation. I remember surgery rotations like notorious for being just crazy workhorse hours. I don't know how you did it, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely did worse on step 2 than I did on step 1, unfortunately. But I didn't think. I thought that if I had dedicated even like 4 weeks, if I could have somehow fit that in, even just canceled the family med rotation before surgery and had dedicated for that and taken it, probably could have done a lot better and got a lot more looks for the interview season. But it's in the past now at this point.
You made it, so
do dedicated. If you can do it,
yeah. How many weeks do you recommend for dedicated? Did you dual apply or did you just straight up go for anesthesia?
So I had talked with like my advisors after I got my step 1 score. Our hospital has a really nice, wonderful advisor. By the way, I did all of my rotations at Lincoln Medical Center in the Bronx. Did all of my cores there except for family. They had me at Kingsbrook in Brooklyn, which is essentially a dead hospital. Doesn't have anything going for it. Awful. But yeah, that's where they make us do our family med rotation. Lincoln Medical Center in the Bronx is fantastic. I mean, yeah, it's a tough area, but super amazing learning experience. A lot of great, programs there. Residents are pretty fantastic across the board. A lot of exposure to an underserved community. A lot of people with super rare kind of health issues coming from, essentially from, not taking care of their health. And it gets to extremes, or people coming and immigrating and ending up in the Bronx and going to Lincoln. So it's a great spot to be at, is what I'll say. But I had talked with my advisor there, and she said, yeah, you should be good to apply anesthesia. Make sure you have like your letters and all your stuff. It's going to be really competitive and pretty tough. I would also apply a backup. apply to IM or family med or something. And I have nothing against either of those specialties. Huge respect to really all specialties. I've enjoyed all of my rotations and amazing doctors across the board. I didn't want to do family med. I just didn't have that interest. I wanted to do something that was some aspect of surgical, some aspect of procedural, but with enough, physiology and pharmacology, kind of like that IM aspect, something that kind of married that all together. And I also didn't want to have to be burdened by patient kind of information after I left the hospital. That's just who I am as a person. I want to be able to go in, have my shift work, know what I need to do, accomplish all of my stuff, and go home for whatever few hours I have and spend my personal time like that. So, like I said, go for it. I essentially applied to 124 of like the 150-ish anesthesia programs. And then the rest, so 124 anesthesia, both categorical and advanced. And then the rest up to 199 were TY and medicine, internal med prelim years.
Okay.
No surgery, no prelim surgery years. I've been advised, and I would say this for everybody, if you're doing a prelim surgery year in an attempt to go into like radiology or anesthesia, not worth it. You'll be a bitch the whole time. Pardon my language, but you're just going to be screwed the whole time. You're not really going to be doing any surgical procedures because all of those are going to go to the actual categorical surgery residents. So don't ever do a surgery prelim if you can avoid it. TYs are okay. Medicine prelim is really if you want to actually build like your stuff. So I applied primarily all in anesthesia, prelim, TY.
Gotcha. And I was trying to talk to Hannah about this, and like kind of clear up for like anesthesia and like PM&R and stuff. Like you guys have to, when you do like categorical versus like you guys have to do like a prelim year for the first year too, and like you match partially. Like tell us like what the process about is.
Sure. So when you apply to program, I think it's radiology. I mean, it depends. Some of these programs, there are some programs in the country that are like, unique, fast track. You apply to something and it's like a 4-year advance. You go straight through whatever. But those are like, some Harvard program or some, Brown University program, something like that, or whatever. But for the most part, anesthesia, radiology, PM&R, ophthalmology, dermatology. I may be forgetting one or two, but those all require an intern year. And we all know, like, your intern year is your first year of any residency, your internship year. So what they're saying is, depending on kind of the nature of your program, you have to account for that prelim year. Now, for anesthesia specifically, a lot of these programs are either, you'll see it on when you like select it from ERAS. It'll say like categorical or advanced. Sometimes essentially what that means is if it's a categorical position, more often than not, for anesthesia, it's your CA1, 2, and 3 years, which are technically your PGY2, 3, 4 years. And they include your intern year at the same program.
Okay.
So that's your categorical 4-year program. So like for myself at University of Buffalo, it's a categorical 4-year program. They include my prelim internal med year as my internship year there with them. And then I transition, once that year finishes on June 30th next year, I will immediately transition into my CA1/PGY2 year at the same hospital.
Okay.
If you get into an advanced program, so the other program that I was hoping that I was going to get, that was my first choice, was the NYU Manhattan Tisch program. And that one is an advanced program, meaning it's I mean, it's advanced. It's you start when you get in. You start at your CA1, PGY2, 3, 4. That's all they give you. That here you go. You've matched into the advanced program, but you have to account for your internship year. So you have to apply to prelims and TY years and hope that you match at one of those, so that that'll fill in for your first internship year.
Okay.
So when you get your match email on the Monday, it'll say you've matched, or it'll say you don't match, or it'll say you've partially matched into an advanced position, or you've partially matched, I think, into a prelim position. It's one of those two, but it'll tell you that you've partially matched into something and that you're eligible to SOAP the other part, whether it's the advanced position or the prelim year. And you hope and pray that it's the prelim part that you would have to SOAP.
Right.
Not that you'd want to, but that's what you would hope. That meaning you nabbed that advanced position at University of Colorado or USC or whatever.
Yeah. How tough is it usually to kind of like SOAP into like an advanced program? Is that like impossible?
So for anesthesia this year, if you go, I think you can actually, I think anybody can log on to the NRMP and look at like the match results. And it's a like 18-page document of a bunch of tables and percentages and stuff. And you can like kind of calibrate USMD, USDO, USIMG, non-US IMG. And you can kind of see which percentages applied to each specialty and where they matched. And you can look at each individual program for each individual specialty. So across the board, United States, this last match for 2022, I think there was one total anesthesia position unfilled at the end. I
have it pulled up right here. And it's 1,500 positions, postgrad U1, and it's one unfilled.
So that means whoever was applying to anesthesia and didn't match into it, if that's like, 300 people, 500 people, 1,000 people, that means they're all going to try and SOAP for that one position at that one hospital, wherever it was at, that one unfilled.
Okay. But that's like a categorical position, right? Because it's postgrad year 1.
Yeah, I believe that's a categorical position.
Okay.
Then you can look at like the advanced ones too.
So the advanced one would be like the postgrad year 2 positions, right?
I think so.
Because like for that it has like 350 positions and 0 unfilled.
Right.
So that sounds about right.
Unfilled. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So pretty much
0 when unfilled.
You pretty much hoping to kind of like SOAP into like a advanced position. Like let's say you nap a prelim, you have matched into a prelim, but then you're hoping to kind of like SOAP into a postgrad year 2 like advanced position. That's pretty much last year you had no chance.
You had no chance last year.
You would just had like a USMD. 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you get a prelim year, it is pretty scary, especially for those who are trying to get into those those specialties, those programs. That's why when you get the prelim year or even the TY year, you have to reapply, and it can be very stressful because you don't want to do another prelim year or another TY year, but it's tough because then you have to apply for the resident physician only, like specific slots. You don't have to, but those open up too. So
and I know that's also rough too, because then I know you only get funding for a certain amount of money, so a lot of programs also don't want to take you because you already used up the first year of funding or whatever. So you might have to like get into a different specialty.
Yeah.
So
it's tough. It's a tough experience. For sure.
Well, that's a good explanation, man. Thanks for clearing that up, because I was confused about like all this stuff. Because I'm going for FM, so I had no idea about what all this prelim transitional year and like what does it mean to be half match and stuff. So I think that'd be helpful for people to know.
It's like you do it, so you apply, you get. So to lay it out, I'll lay it out for you like this even. So for myself, I think I had five anesthesia interviews, and then I had one TY interview. So that was, this may be a question that you were going to ask anyway. So I had 5 anesthesia interviews and 1 TY interview. I had 6 total interviews this year. Super competitive. It's also kind of the nature, and it's an issue that they've been dealing with. I mean, you can go on the forums on Reddit and you can listen to all the people talk about how they should have interview capping and all this stuff. But because everyone can apply to 300 because they're all online and they don't have to worry about travel, et cetera, you have a lot of competition, a lot more than normal, or like 10 years ago. So with the 6 interviews, I had NYU, and NYU, when you apply to NYU, you apply to both, like you apply to their whole program, and it counts as, it's split. So there's, I think, 30 seats or 30 positions, 20 of which are at the Manhattan Tisch Hospital, and 10 are at Brooklyn. So you rank, that counts as 2 rank spots, like 1 and 2.
Okay.
NYU Manhattan, NYU Tisch. I interviewed at USC, my alma mater, University of Buffalo, Temple University in Philadelphia, and Cooper University Rowan, like Cooper University at Rowan Medical School or something like that, which is also essentially in Philadelphia. It's right across the bridge in Jersey. And then I interviewed at Lincoln Medical Center for a TY year. So I had 7 consecutive ranks, essentially. But when you have a TY year and you have your primary, when you go into NRMP and you get a primary rank list, and then you'll see, depending on what kind of stuff you're applying, you can open up a supplementary rank list or a secondary rank list. I forget the term they use, supplementary, I think. And depending on the nature of the program itself, if it's an advanced or categorical, when you rank them all, this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a little drop-down menu, and it'll tell you to link a supplemental rank list for that program. So for University of Buffalo, it's categorical, and they give you the prelim year as a part of matching there and a part of the program itself. There's no drop-down menu. It's just that by itself. But because NYU, both of them, are an advanced program, and you have to account for your prelims from somewhere else or TY from some other hospital or whatever, you have to make a secondary rank list of just prelim TY years. And you can make several, permutations of however you want. So for your first rank, NYU Tisch, you go to your supplemental list and okay, for that program I want to rank these 2 prelims and then that TY year, and I'll name that list NYU Tisch list. Then you go back to your primary, and you'll click the drop down. You'll choose NYU Tisch supplementary list, and it'll link that one now.
Gotcha.
So when you match into both of those, it'll link.
Then
we'll do your USC one. Yeah, you can just make a bunch of different.
So then in your case, then you only have, because you only have 1 transitional year interview, right? I mean, you only have 1 to put in for the supplemental section of the NYU Tisch.
So for NYU too, right? They give you the 2 NYU Tisch, NYU Brooklyn, and then they also give you each their own prelim year, which is nice. Not every program does this.
Okay.
Temple didn't do that. They don't give you that there. But because NYU is such a massive hospital system, they also have prelims, med prelims that you can link, that you automatically qualify for if you get an interview there.
Gotcha.
So you automatically qualify essentially for 4, your 2 advanced tracks and 2 prelim med tracks.
Gotcha.
1 in Brooklyn, 1 in Tisch.
So it's still kind of
so
like
you can link
a
those.
Categorical position then. Pretty much.
Kind like a pseudo.
Pseudo.
Because you can not get one of those. You can not match into one of the ones that they offer. Because it's, again, a huge hospital system and so many people are applying into those things. And you may end up matching at the TY at Lincoln, which is one of my friends who is a TY at Lincoln now, not from SGU, who's going to NYU next year. And she didn't get one of their prelims. So.
And so then mostly, all your interviews were much categorical positions. What do you say?
It was split. Cooper's categorical, USC's categorical, and Buffalo's categorical. NYU and Temple required they're technically advanced.
Okay.
I think. NYU definitely. Temple, I don't remember if it was I don't know if they labeled it as categorical or advanced on like the ERAS page program thing when you're picking them, but they required a supplemental rank list to link with them.
Yeah. I mean, I asked that just because it seemed like, did you have any like interviews with prelim spots and stuff?
No.
Yeah. So then, like,
Which was crazy.
So, I mean, are you typically supposed to, like, is that worrying and you didn't get a lot of like prelims? I'm just wondering.
Oh, it was super worrying.
Okay.
I even applied to a few more to like try and like scramble and pad and add more like at the end of November, which at that point they probably just didn't even look at my application. Even if when they initially looked at it, had I applied at the start of the process in September, I probably would have gotten 9 or 10 more interviews. But because I scrambled and did it late, thinking like, oh, I should probably add more.
Yeah.
They probably didn't even look at them. So it was super worrying. It was super stressful.
Yeah.
I battled with, like, should I send letters of intent to these people? It's hit or miss.
Do you?
I mean, I did. I sent a letter of intent to University of Buffalo because I really love the program, first of all. And then I sent one to NYU because I figured that was going to be kind of a reach. At NYU currently for the anesthesia department, I mean, it won't be that case next year, but this year, right now, their chief resident at their Brooklyn site is an SGU grad.
Oh, wow.
He's the only SGU student there in all 4, like all 3 years of class, of that program. So they hadn't taken an SGU student since him, essentially, to now. They interviewed, I think, like 7 of us on the same day at the start of January, which I was surprised. That was like the first interview I got. And by the time I got it, it was like I had to schedule it for January. That's how filled up they already were. But yeah, they didn't take any SG students this year either. Not surprised. But yeah, I sent a letter of intent to them and to Buffalo. And then Buffalo sent me a letter that I have somewhere over here.
Oh, nice.
Essentially saying, we loved you. We are ranking you extremely high, like verbatim, extremely high. We'd love to have you join our family, our group. They have 12 seats a year, 12 positions. So
excellent.
I had a strong sense that if I ranked them high enough, which was going to be the kind of default anyway, because I only had 6 consecutive ranks, they were going to fall into a top 5 position anyway. That I had a strong chance of getting there, and lo and behold, here we are today.
Nice.
That's where we're going. So
there you go. So anesthesia is pretty competitive. Did you do any what's your extracurriculars, like research, activities and stuff? You want to throw that out there?
Sure. Pretty much all of my research and extracurriculars, I would say, are pre-medical school.
Oh, wow.
Everything research-wise, I think I have 3 research projects, one of which I worked on for the 2 years between undergrad. Actually, a year at the end of undergrad, 2 years between, and then remotely helping with like statistics and data and writing abstract stuff, editing. That amounted to, I think, 5 poster presentations and some like at conferences. 2 other ones are posters, and then there's one I'm doing right now that's another hopeful publication, but that wasn't obviously on my application. So I had those post presentations, some work experience. I had like 5 or 6 different research work experience kind of things that I put into the application. 4 volunteering things, or 5, I think 5 volunteering things. And that was all from undergrad and the 2 years post undergrad. I didn't do anything on the island. You can do a lot of stuff, like SGU will offer you like research that you can get involved in. I mean, it's nothing, I don't think, truly substantial.
I heard about that. I need to find some people to talk to about that, because I don't know how useful and like how good of an opportunity, like what kind of work you even get to do and you get published and stuff like that. So I'm kind of skeptical about that, but I don't know.
Yeah, you know? A lot of them are. A friend of mine who did a lot of them, he actually got like, I mean, he told me he had like 10 publications.
Oh wow.
But they're all like anatomy, physiology based. So not like a clinical research publication. They're just kind of like a quick, easy anatomy pubs. From what it sounded like, that's what kind of like what he told me. And that was from SGU. But other than that, you know, I mentioned like the clubs that you can mention all the clubs you work with if you do extracurriculars. So those in like IEA. So I mentioned like the stuff we would do for that. But nothing else really for that. Anesthesia is, they don't really expect, not to say they don't expect you to have research, but if you're concerned about having like anesthesia specific research, it's not like a make or break. Obviously, if you're a US MD student who's, let's say, at University of North Carolina, you probably maybe have a great opportunity to get like 2 anesthesia specific research collaboration paper, poster presentations, publications, because you're aiming to go to like Duke or wherever.
Yeah.
So in that case, then yeah, if you're trying to get into something like that, if you can find it, go for it. It's not necessary. I know the same is kind of for radiology. They don't like look to see if you have like radiology specific research. Obviously all that stuff helps. I think only 2 of the interviews that I had, they like actually asked me like, what do you think, like actually maybe 3 interviews, they asked me about the research. One, the guy went into like detail about like what I did, and do you remember like the test results and like what were like the the medication like how much medication did you give when you were doing these trials with pomidronate, and because we use that here. Mostly they ended up focusing on just, I think 1 out of the 6, one of the interviews within the interviews mentioned my personal statement. Again, this is not like a universal experience. It's going to change depending on so many factors. A lot of people mentioned hobbies, but not much about some of the extracurricular stuff. More so they just want to know and just kind of chat, talk with you.
Just kind of want to know who you are.
See if you're like a normal, I feel like a normal person.
Not a psycho.
You can like, not a psycho. Like if you can hold a conversation, if you can chat with them, you can be like enthusiastic and interesting and interested. And, there's like a balance.
Now that's good to know that, it's not having like a good research towards anesthesia is might not be make a break. So I think that's I didn't know that. I figured that, it'd be like research heavy or something. So that's nice.
It's not. I will say though, it's probably more audition heavy though too. I will say that.
Yeah, let's go into that. Did you do a lot of aways and audition rotations? Because I know it's tough, especially for SGU to even try to get like aways and audition rotation out of network. I tried doing that with other hospitals, but they were all like, "Oh no, we only take students through the VSAS for the USMD deals."
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, what was your experience with that?
I did 1 anesthesia elective rotation for 4 weeks in my entire clinical rotations.
Okay.
1, and the one I did it at Lincoln Medical Center. I knew the chief and chairman. It's the same person, Dr. Janaris. Unbelievable. One of the coolest guys I think I've ever met across any idea, across any specialty that I've worked with. Super amazing. He wrote me a letter of recommendation. He has a lot of connections with like NYU and all over the place. But that program at Lincoln, they don't have a residency for anesthesia.
Yeah.
So anything I would have done there, not necessarily, it wouldn't have helped.
Right.
They do take rotating residents from the Metropolitan program for anesthesia, which has 4 positions every year. They didn't take any IMGs this year. And I mean, he even contacted, so he says, the program director there, and I never got an interview offer from them. But from what I understand and reading like the Discord and the forums for anesthesia, if you can do away rotations, really with any of these like more competitive specialties, if you can do them, hugely helpful.
Yeah.
And just getting your, networking, get your name out there. Also had friends who went to like the ASA conference for anesthesia, and respectively, you can go whatever you're interested in to the conference for that year. Some of them, like my girlfriend, is planning on going to the surgery one in October, because that conference actually offers kind of like, it's like a conference within the conference for medical students to come and kind of learn more about the field, the specialty, network with other students, other programs, program directors, associate program directors, etc. So if you can also go to one of those,
did you go to one?
Huge for networking. I did not. I didn't know when it was. It was actually in October this last year, and it's again this year for anesthesia. I think it's like the 22nd to the 26th or something of that week this year.
Okay.
It was during my anesthesia elective, and I had like a friend who had gone, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I got like 2 interviews
from that
from
the
just going."
Oh my goodness, that's nice.
Yeah, from going. So
yeah, I think that's good for a listener to know. Like sign up now for the October conference. I wish, like, I didn't think how big an impact like going to the conference would be and stuff. But I think it makes sense. You go there, you're gonna see the PDs, at least like get the contact numbers, and then you want to waste rotations and stuff, and then you can be like, oh, hey, we talked, the one time at conference, and they'd be more likely to kind of jump through the hoops and do the paperwork, work with you to get the auditions and stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I tried to do one at USC, which is where I went to undergrad.
Yeah.
And they literally, if you go on their website for like the anesthesia electives, they're like, we don't take anyone not from these schools. And they give like a list of pretty prominent international universities, and SGU is not one of them. So they don't even consider a student there from SGU. Yeah. Unless you know somebody or have like an in.
Which is how it usually
hospitals,
is.
Yeah. You're not going to get an audition there. So.
Gotcha. What was the hardest part of the application process for you? As in like USIMG, Carribean Med School?
I think, once you get to the part where you submit it, I mean, yeah, you're going to think about the fact that you're a USIMG or non-USIMG at a Caribbean Med School. For the most part, not all, unfortunate as is, not all Caribbean med schools are equal. There's like, 3 or 4 that are really taken seriously, and maybe even just 1 or 2. SGU is definitely one of them that's taken seriously, as you can see from just like their match results all across the board for the years. So once you get in there and you start getting your foot in the door, you're pretty much equal with everybody else you're interviewing with. Once you get your foot in the door, once you get that interview invitation, they thought enough about you to say, yeah, we don't care where you're from. Like, you got something to offer, so we want to talk with you. So I would say have confidence in yourself when you go for those interviews. You can talk about, the fact that you have this chip on your shoulder, which is true, and you're gonna, bust your ass because for a lot, as I've been told by a lot of attendings, a lot, and even in some of the interviews that they love like SGU students, and I've heard this from other friends as well. Love SGU students because a majority of them like work really hard and bust their ass. So have like confidence in yourself, I would say. Another hard part of the application process, it's not even anything to do with being an IMG or anything. It's literally just getting it done as early as possible and getting your letters of rec. Like, get as many as you can from all over the place. I submitted my application. You can only send 4 letters of rec to any program. That's the max. Anesthesia, for many programs, they require like 1 at least from an anesthesiologist. Some require 2 or more. If you can get 2, great. Try and get another one from like IM or surgery or something. I had one from IM, surgery, OB-GYN, and then when I finally did get the letter in like mid-October and submitted it to all of these places, that's when I sent the anesthesia one from the chairman/chief of anesthesia at Lincoln.
Gotcha.
He wrote an amazing letter, and that I think maybe helped.
So you sent it kind of late then, yeah?
I did. I had 4 already for most of them. I had 3 already attached when I submitted, and then I added his as the 4th, kind of like icing on the cake midway through October.
Okay.
And I was in the NYU interview. One of the 2 attendings that I spoke with actually like she was in anesthesia residency at Westchester Medical Center when Dr. Janaris was her chief of anesthesia in the residency. So we talked about him and she knew him personally, and I was like, oh man, this is a great in. Maybe I have a chance.
Oh, excellent.
Didn't happen, but it was nice. Like it worked out. So get your letters early and have confidence about yourself, despite the apparent disadvantage that we face, for sure.
Gotcha. And do you have to update the program that you send the letter in after? Because I know that's what some people say to do. Or like, was it close enough where you didn't have to like email the program and say, oh, hey, I updated my letter of rec?
I would say there's no way to know for sure. It's really tough now because you can't, I mean, you can email 120 programs if you want, or however many haven't declined you already. I chose like 30 that I really felt I had, a chance at based on like my research that I had done.
Mm-hmm.
And I emailed them that like, I updated my application. I had to update my MSP through SGU as well because I had finished surgery, after the time that they had submitted it. So that had to be updated as well. I mean, if you can, it should be okay now for everybody to be on track to have all of their cores done by the time they apply. Maybe some people are still out of cycle. But if you can have everything done by the 29th, even your ECFMG like certification with OET, like the pathways, all of that shit. You can get all that stuff done early. No stress.
Yeah.
No stress. Because after that, you just have to worry about fielding the interviews.
Yeah, after that, you just get to order ring lights and, backdrops for your interviews.
Yes, that's huge too. I did my interviews, not in this room, in the sunroom we have here. And I had it's a very nicely kind of homey sunroom, bookshelf, that wraps around. I have the Christmas tree for part of it.
Oh.
So I got a bunch of compliments like, oh, I love the room you're in. Oh, look, it's so nice. Ring lights, huge. Sound quality, like your microphone. You don't need it, but if you can get that kind of stuff, can be really helpful in just kind of painting the picture of like who you are. Since it's going to be confirmed, I think today, that it's all virtual next year again.
Oh yeah,
So,
they're gonna let us know today. Nice.
yeah, I think they let everybody know today. I think I'll ask Kate.
That'll be good. Is she applying next cycle?
She is.
Nice. Good luck to her. All right, man. Just any last tips or anything you want to say? Advice, motivational words to students coming in for anesthesia.
I would say, despite, I don't know enough about the field yet, like these other anesthesia residents and attendings who say, you chose great. But I will say that if you go into anesthesia, it's a great choice. A lot of potential there. Super exciting field. Great lifestyle. Really, in the end, most of these specialties, if it's what you love, you're going to have a great lifestyle. Be confident in your decisions and your choices. Know that this is a fucking marathon. It is tough, but you've made it this far. Not many people can make it this far, especially coming from a Caribbean med school. It's really tough to do that. Look at St. James Medical School right now in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
that's a lot of shit.
That's the one that had to give back on the money to the students.
And I mean, they had what, 30% pass rate for step one.
Yeah,
that's tough. I feel bad for a lot of the people who had to go through with that. Yeah. But regardless of your situation, keep persevering. Read. There's a lot of uplifting stories on the Reddit forums for our medical school, our residency. There's a lot of great stuff that I've read over the course of the last year of people who do not match but find a way, people who do match and transfer. They match somewhere they hate and they end up loving it. They grow, they transition into something else. There's a lot of flexibility to medicine, even if it seems like it's super rigid and it's like the end of the world if you don't pass or you don't match or whatever. But love yourself. Every day find enjoyment in small victories and small battles won. Is what I would tell everybody, and I would tell people that during the interviews too, because it's true. Find the hobby. If it's something that you've lost touch with, get back into it. Love it again. Talk about it in your interviews. Those are some of the big things that I would take away. And then enjoy your fourth year when you get to that point. Choose stuff that you want to do and that you like to do. If you have to choose something because it's the only thing you can do, try and find some enjoyment in it. Try and learn something and better yourself, because at fourth year is really all just about kind of bettering yourself and enjoying the last kind of freedoms that you have. It's kind of like it's like an early retirement in many ways, which is what a few people have told me. And I agree. Like right after this, I'm going to go and I have to work tomorrow, but I'm not going to get there until 9 because it's geriatrics. And I know all the residents and attendants, and they're super nice. I'm going to leave at noon tomorrow. Go for a run, walk the dogs. We're going to make dinner after this. It's going to be nice. Enjoy your days. Be confident in yourself. You can. And love yourself and find love and support from, the ones around you. And enjoy the time you have with them now. Because once you get to residency, it's going to be another shitty few years.
That's the life, man. Thanks for your time, Jack. Yeah, I think a lot of people learn from this. I think it's just helpful to just see that, coming from Caribbean med school, you can still match into anesthesia.
Of course.
Like competitive specialty. So I think that's good. And thanks for sharing your experience. If you guys like this video, make sure you guys subscribe for more. Hit the like, comment below any question you guys have. And I'll ask Jack if you have any social that he want to put out. You guys can ask him questions. Yeah. You guys want to message him privately. He can help you guys with that. And until next time, it's your boy Ted and Jack.